Hello again. It's me, the boy in his Bible, with some of the old man in me as well. We're doing Ecclesiastes. I can assure you, with absolute clarity, that's come back to me as I meditate in front of you. All these meditations, by the way, are spontaneous. I've not got down and wrote them all out to make them correct and proper. I've been more interested that I want to inspire you to read books of the Bible, get back into the Bible, and therefore I'm not trying to do summaries of books. I'm trying to give you the essence, the feeling, and the sense of impact it had upon me as a boy of his Bible. Sometimes the old man comes through, but I think most of the time what you are getting is the boy speaking to you. When I came to Ecclesiastes, I couldn't pronounce the name. I'd read the book, I copied it out, but I couldn't pronounce the name. It had a feeling of higher church somewhere in it with me. It didn't, and when I read it, I couldn't believe it. It was saying how stupid, no matter how wealthy you are, it doesn't matter how much of this world's goods you got. It doesn't matter how much pleasure you get out of those goods. It doesn't matter how much sense of security you get from doing what you're doing. You're stupid. And it's stupid. It's like blowing into the wind. It has no value. And I found that difficult. This was the only book of the Bible that gives to us anything what we would call a philosophy of life. And the philosophy of life in this Bible was dreadful reading. Oh, there's some chapters in it that's outstanding. For instance, the chapter says that in everything there's a season, and a season for everything. What an incredible catalogue of concepts there are there. But the book as a whole, it hits you and says rubbish. Living is hopeless. And it's a living for yourself that he's talking about. And that is what I picked up. I didn't want to live like this. Now, don't misunderstand me. By the time I came to Ecclesiastes, I may have been promoted a couple of times there, and I was on the ladder of success, and I was going places, being recognized, being accepted as an exceptional marketeer, as an exceptional manager, as a person who would take initiative after initiative, a person who could build up businesses. My very first business, 500%. I built it up, kept the shop open for another 20 years, a shop that were going to close down. They had all those elements that you find in this book, but they were called rubbish. And they became to me a lesson. And this lesson from Ecclesiastes is worth reading 1,000 times. That no matter how wealthy, how good, how middle class, how upper class, it doesn't matter how many things, how many suits, how many clothes, how many dresses. It doesn't matter whether you wear diamond rings and diamond this or diamonds that or other jewelries. It doesn't matter how fancy, how big, how your house is or your car is. It doesn't matter if you've got second homes. It doesn't matter if you can enjoy the best holidays in the world. It doesn't matter if you can rock yourself in a chair smoking Cuban cigars. It's rubbish as compared to knowing God. It's rubbish as compared to not neglecting God in the days of your youth, taking God of the youth into the God of the adulthood. If the adulthood doesn't have God in its life, it will have rubbish. Now, it doesn't deal with the fact in any depth with what happens to the man who has all these things in life but shares them. That comes in other books. It comes in the book of, you find in the book of Isaiah, for instance, and other books. And definitely in the book of Job, the opposite to the book of Ecclesiastes. If Ecclesiastes is about the waste of life, then Job, who experienced the waste of life, discovered the true meaning of life, which was wisdom in God. and the wisdom of God. The fear of God was the true wisdom that was there. So as you look at Ecclesiastes and look at the philosophy, don't be surprised if what you read is negative, 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 negative. It is meant to be negative. If ever there's a book to scare you from the misuse of this world's goods, it is Ecclesiastes. It is a book that you want to run away from after you've read it. The actual things in it. I don't want this. I don't want that or that and the other. What happens to a man who has everything? Mistresses, sexual relationships. What happens to a man who's any food that he wants, any drink that he wants, any company that he wants? What happens to a man who has everything, but he feels in his heart he has nothing? Nothing. There's some rich men who feel they've got everything and they think they're going to build their barns and build them bigger, and the end result will be they'll sit down with their cigars and see life away. They might find their souls are in the hands of God much sooner than they realise. They will realise it one day. All of us will realise it one day. So please read this beautiful, exciting book full of warnings by example. It may have been Solomon who wrote it. I think it must have been one of the children of a king who wrote it. That's neither here nor there. I don't think Solomon was the actual author. It could have been. I say I could be wrong on that. Life is meaningless, and the observation of the world will prove it. The reality of death is there